Welcome to the key concepts of creating value with services and service relationship module. By the end of this module, you'll be able to describe concept of service relationships. The central component of service management, the reason there is a relationship between service provider and service consumer, is, of course, the service. Service providers own or have access to various resources, including people, information and technology, processes, suppliers and partners, and they strive to make the most effective use of these resources to build products and services that will potentially be valuable to their customers. They make these services available to their customers, current and/or potential, in the form of service offerings, usually through the means of a service catalogue. A service offering is a formal description of one or more services designed to meet the needs of a target consumer group. Services may be bundled together for clarity and simplicity. For example, where one service depends on or benefits from the presence of another service, combining these as a service offering makes the dependencies clear to customers, simplifying the process of decision-making and ordering. Services may also be bundled together to make them more appealing, according to the needs of different consumers and their willingness to spend. For example, offering premium, standard, and economy versions of the same service. A service offering will consist of one or more of the following components: goods, access to resources, and service actions. Goods are things that are supplied to the consumer that the consumer then owns from that point onward and is responsible for its future use. A personal mobile phone contract is a good example of this. The user owns the phone and is responsible for it should it be damaged or lost. Access to resources includes any components or resources the consumer can use under agreed terms and conditions during the life of the service. A company mobile phone is a good example here. The phone remains the property of the company and will be fixed or replaced should it become damaged. The user will be required to return it should they leave the organization. Service actions are the activities that the service provider undertakes to address a consumer need under the terms of the service. For example, logging and responding to support requests. Service relationship management is the joint activities performed by a service provider and a service consumer to ensure continual value co-creation based on agreed and available service offerings. A service relationship is a cooperation between a service provider and a service consumer. It exists whenever one organization provides a service which another organization consumes. This can take many forms. The service provider and service consumer may both be part of the same larger organization. For example, the internal IT department of a business providing IT services to the other business units. Alternatively, the service provider may be a company delivering services on the open market to other businesses and/or individuals. Whatever the basis of the relationship, it is in the interests of both the service provider and service consumer organizations that a positive, cooperative relationship exists between them. A good service relationship is too important to be left to chance. The health of the service relationship is a key factor in determining the success of the service. The failure to establish or maintain a successful working relationship can be both the cause and result of service failure. In today's busy and complex world, many organizations will have a mix of both internal and external providers, and many service providers will have both internal and external customers. It is key, therefore, that the service provider has a clear understanding of who its consumers and other stakeholders are in any given situation, and develops appropriate service relationship management capabilities in order to establish and sustain positive relationships with them. In an internal delivery context, the IT department may appoint business relationship managers to be the lead role in this, while commercial organizations frequently use the title account managers to describe the role responsible for the long-term health and development of key customer relationships. Let's pause for a moment to consider the consumer organization. The term is used within ITIL to simplify the definition and description of the structure of service relationships. At the receiving end of the service relationship is the service consumer, whether that is an individual, another internal department, or an external company. 3 specific consumer roles are defined. Sponsor, a person who authorizes budget for service consumption. Customer, a person who defines the requirements for a service and takes responsibility for the outcomes of service consumption. User, a person who uses services. These are roles, not job titles, and they can be combined or shared within an organization as appropriate. For example, an individual booking a flight for himself is the sponsor, customer, and user. Note the dual aspects of the customer role. The customer is involved early in the service life cycle in defining the requirements, but is also responsible for the outcomes of service consumption. In other words, for making sure that the consumer organization fulfills its responsibilities to co-create value. If services are a means of co-creating value, and for the service to succeed, both organizations need to obtain value from the service, value can be more than simply financial gain. But if the service provider does not get value from the service, why should they continue to provide it? If the service consumer fails to achieve value, why should they continue to use the service? So, both parties have expectations of the service. Equally, both parties have responsibilities to co-create value. History is littered with projects which promised great value only to fail because the service relationship broke down. Amongst the service provider's responsibilities are the management of all the resources they have to build and deliver services, including people, infrastructure, data, etc. Ensuring that users are able to access these resources and services. Undertaking any specific service-related actions, scheduled maintenance, software security updates, responding to user requests for service or support. Ensuring that the service is consistently delivered to agreed targets, addressing any service issues, and identifying opportunities to improve. It is probably fair to say, in most situations, the service provider will take the lead in promoting a positive relationship with their customers. It is generally easier for the customer to replace a service provider than it is for the provider to find more customers. Net Promoter Score, NPS, has become a popular metric for businesses seeking to measure customer loyalty. NPS is based on one simple question. How likely is it that you would recommend us to a friend or colleague? Usually based on a rating of 0, not at all likely, to 10, extremely likely, it is a clear indicator of how the customer values the relationship. This is not to say that the service consumer does not have responsibilities too. They do. But it is in the service provider's interest to do what they can to assist the consumer to understand and meet their responsibilities. Amongst the service consumer's responsibilities are management of the consumer's resources needed to use the services. For example, ensuring compliance to any policies and procedures associated with service usage. Service actions performed by users. For example, reporting service incidents to the service desk, updating passwords regularly. A simple example might serve to illustrate the dynamics of this relationship. Let us revisit an example used in the previous module. A company provides a language learning service through a software application that customers can download via the internet. The company's sales message is that with only 10 minutes of daily study, users will be able to learn a foreign language within 6 months. The company uses all of its resources to build a top-quality product with utility and warranty features designed to give their users the best chance of success in learning a new language. It puts in place comprehensive support structures, fronted by a consumer support desk, to ensure that any issues a customer might have trying to use the service are dealt with efficiently and promptly. And yet, although it has great success attracting users, it has difficulty retaining them. Its analysis shows that most new joiners stop using the application before the end of the first 6-month period. Feedback from leavers shows that, although most are positive about the product features and find it easy to use, they felt that they were not achieving the promised goals of becoming proficient in a new language. Further analysis, however, showed that of those users who gave up in the first few months, the majority did not fulfill the 10-minute per day study requirement. Very few of them downloaded more than a couple of the available podcasts and other available additional materials. The company could have chosen to take comfort in the fact that they provided a good product and blame the customers for not using it properly, but this would not have been a very sound strategy for long-term success. Instead, they considered how they could help their customers make better use of the service and quickly implemented a number of features, including a daily study alarm clock feature, competitive league tables, making bonus features available to those who consistently met the study requirement. These efforts quickly led to improvements in customer loyalty and retention. As a final thought in this section, it's worth reflecting that in a complex and integrated world, most organizations, as the illustration so neatly shows, are both providers and consumers of services. In this chain, for example, Organization B consumes product and services from Organization A that enhance its own capabilities to deliver services to Organization C, and so value is created up and down the line. The more insight Organization A has into how Organization B uses its services and products in order to deliver value to its own customers, the more clearly it understands the outcomes Organization B values, and the more opportunity it has to continually improve its service offerings. Organizations that aspire to develop a strategic relationship with their customers should endeavor to acquire this insight. Similarly, organizations who regard a service provider as strategic to them should be prepared to share this insight. Well done! You've completed this module. Now try the following exercises to check your recall and understanding.